Welcome. I'm your host, Michelle B. Griffin. As an author, speaker, and certified personal brand and PR strategist, I'm here to empower you to get visible, build your personal brand, and own your lane as a visible brand authority and thought leader in your space. I'm super excited you're here. Now let's get going. Welcome back, everybody, to another episode. I'm your host, Michelle B. Griffin. And today we are talking about if you are so ready to put yourself out there and put yourself out on video, which is where everyone seems to have their attention. Short form video, YouTube videos, you name it. Putting ourselves on video is the first step to a deeper connection with those we're here to impact. So I'm thrilled to welcome to the show Vicki O'Neill, who is a YouTube expert as the CEO and founder of K Marketing. She's on a mission to empower 1 million women to really go bolder, go bigger, and to show up on video. So welcome to the show, Vicki.
Thank you so much, Michelle, for having me. I'm looking forward to our conversation together.
Absolutely. And I know I kind of touched on your story and who you are and what you do, but please share a little bit more so we can really understand. And then we're going to jump right in because a lot of what I'm asking today is a lot of what I need to know as well.
I love it. So a little bit about me. The question I get asked a lot is why YouTube? Why did you decide to, at this point in your life, focus on YouTube? And I struggled with being on camera. In fact, I struggled with people looking at me when I was younger. If someone looked at me, I would cry, run behind my mom and hold on to her leg for dear life. So I was super shy. And then, of course, over the years, I got out of that shell. But I learned early on that putting myself in uncomfortable situations was the path to growth. And so I wanted to make myself uncomfortable and do something that I didn't see a lot of other women my age doing. And then when I saw the benefits of that, where I was being able to, get on more podcasts as a guest, I was, being asked questions like, how do you do that? How do you gain the confidence? So when I started realizing that there was an opportunity for me to help others, that's what helped me go all in on YouTube.
Just to apply the own your lane concept here, I see the parallel. First, you launch your vision and it's all your professional purpose. A lot of times about what triggered, usually it's a story or an incident that you are so compelled to get out there. So being an introvert, being a shy child,
Yeah.
it's perfect example of, hey, if you think you're shy or introverted now, I was a child who hid and here I am on YouTube teaching people. And then you're absolutely on asserting your difference. The difference when you went all in on YouTube, because you and I have known each other on LinkedIn probably 4 or so years now. And in the last couple of years you went on YouTube, I know it was video, and then you're like, I'm owning YouTube. And then another layer in that, women over 40. And I think that's brilliant because we see young women, we see young people in general making the short form video content. And here's the thing, I don't care what age, stage, who we are, we all have brilliance to share. And today is all about getting seen faster on video. So this is so intriguing. So tell me more about how this is empowering those you help.
Yeah. So it's really empowering them because, like you said, we've got a lot of experience. We have a lot of stories. And it's something that, if not to compare ourselves to others, especially younger people, but, a 20-year-old, they might have more of the tech skills to create fun and interesting short form videos. But us, we've got years and decades of experience that we can share and we can help others. We've got stories that we can tell. We've got things that are going to help others relate to us. And, what I found is that video is one of the best ways to actually do that because you can build a connection with somebody. And so that's part of my mission is to allow those women to have a platform and help them get on this platform and being able to do that in a brave way and show up in their voice and in their power is going to help them be able to do that. And YouTube to me has been a really effective way to make that happen.
You're so right. You can have the technical skills as a youth, but you can certainly learn them. And that's what you do. So I love that. YouTube is the number one search engine or number two, or who knows in this day and age with ChatGPT. But I know when I do searches, Google owns YouTube. And so videos come right off the bat. And I've been introduced to people I would have never met by video through YouTube. So let's get into it. We're
Okay.
ready. We know we have brilliance.
Yes.
we've got the mindset now. And so we don't want to waste any time. What's the first step to start doing this?
The first thing to do, apart from actually creating your channel, is to come up with a strategy and look at it is important to look at what's already on YouTube. So I'm going to put 100% certainty behind this when I say this is that someone's already creating the content like you are for your audience. They're just doing it in their own special way, with their own, sprinkle of experience and stories. But we all have, like you said, Michelle, that we all have our own unique experiences and stories to bring to the table. So really understanding like, what is my strategy? Who do I want to attract? What do I want to incorporate in my videos? Is it going to be talking to camera like we're doing now? It's going to be educational. How am I going to, incorporate those stories into my videos to really attract people and get them brought into my videos so they watch more of my videos and then want to work with me. So there's a whole strategy behind what to do. But the first thing I would say to do is to do your research and see what's already out there that's working. And that's a really good place to start.
So I don't think you're going to advocate for those, what do they call them? No face
Oh,
channels? Yes. Faceless
faceless.
channel.
Yeah.
Yeah. That meant beside the point here, right? I mean, but tell us just for the sake of knowledge, what exactly are those?
Yeah. So faceless channels are ones where you aren't showing your face. You're actually just either doing demonstrations or a lot of people now, because of AI, they're just tapping into all of these AI tools and resources. You can type up your message or use ChatGPT or other resources like that to create their message. And then you can plug those into different tools like Pictory.ai. There's several other ones that you can do where it actually creates the video for you. And then you create a channel where you're not showing up, not even your face, not your voice. It's all automated. And there are channels that are really successful with that. The reason why I don't focus on that is because it's not helping the personal brand. To me, it's checking a box and you're making money. And so what I'm doing, my purpose is so much bigger than that. And that's the reason why I don't go in that direction.
That's why we're here talking on a personal branding podcast. I have a lot to say about that too. And we won't get into it, but last week in LinkedIn, I was approached by two people from the same company, and the direct messages, hey, you do personal branding. We make personal branding videos with AI. And then they have this link to this video where you're not on it. They clone your voice, everything about you, and the output. And it wasn't cheap by any means, but the output is the fake AI Michelle talking, and I don't have to show up. And I was very disturbed by that. Now everyone's different, but I teach personal branding. What's the point of being a human and showing up if that's the way we go? So that's a whole different side. But I like to bring these things up so people know that it's out there. But now we know the reason why it's even more important to bring us, our authentic, true self, and our purpose and our vision and our
Mhm.
brilliance out there. So we started the channel. We got the strategy. Now what? We don't want to waste too much time because then we could start overthinking, because I'm the overthinker. You say
Yes.
research and I'm overdoing it. So don't research too much.
Yeah, don't get into like that over analyzing mode. I'm all about now, like over the last couple of years, just like taking messy action. And the reason I say that is because if we overthink, then we end up doing nothing. And I'm a huge story for that. And I talk about this often that if you go back and look at my very first video on my YouTube channel, it was a minute, 20 seconds. And just thinking about it brings anxiety because I spent pretty much an entire day creating a 1 minute, 20-second video. Where's the background? Where's the light? I need to memorize my script, but I want to make it sound like I didn't memorize my script. So it was all of these mindset things that were actually contributing to this, essentially it was okay video. I mean, I don't think it's great, but it was my first video. So now I can look back and say, hey, here was my first video. But it's also an example of what not to do, because doing it that way and trying to make sure that it was perfect, that's what held me back from doing another video for another year.
Oh
And
my
then I did it
goodness.
again. And then it was
I
like another year.
So a video a year is all you did,
I was creating
basically.
so much anxiety in the
Yeah.
entire process. I was afraid of what people were going to say. I was afraid of being judged. I was afraid of the hate comments, that people are hiding behind a screen to actually put out there. 20 years ago, I'd probably be like, I don't know if I want to do that. But at my age now, I'm like, I don't care what you say. That has nothing to do with me. So it's all about standing in your confidence and just believing in yourself and knowing that you've got the gifts. You're here for a reason. And YouTube is just one platform that you can actually demonstrate that.
That is such an important thing, the perfectionism, the power of you, and just
Yeah.
not caring. I feel like one day the switch just got flipped. Like, I don't care. I am here. And that's why in the Own Your Lane, I have launch your vision. What do you want? Who are you here to impact? And that's your North Star that leads me. Those hate comments are people who are truly, it's got something wrong with them, because a truly put together person who is comfortable in who they are and what they bring to the table, they're not out hate commenting or putting comments aren't very likable or nice to others. I always reframe it to that poor person as something with them, it's them, not me. So that's a great reframe too, because
Mhm.
YouTube, it's out there, I'm so glad you brought that up. So that everything, let's not do a video a year and take all day to do one. What's
Yeah.
the fastest way, best way now to overcome all that and just get really consistent and comfortable? And I might say confident and courageous too, because those are all so important to keep going.
I think we can all agree that when we take action, it creates confidence and we get a little bit more courageous. So it really is all about creating a plan, sticking to it, planning our content, whether it's every week, it's every month, whatever that time frame is. So I would say to look at that plan and say, where is 15 minutes, let's just say on a Monday, where I can spend and focus 15 minutes on researching what are some titles that are working right now in my niche in order to figure out like what's my video going to be about this week. Or if you want to plan, 4 videos for the month, then block out an hour of time so you can get everything done at one time. And then the next day, I would say block out, depending on how many videos you're going to record, block out 30 minutes to an hour if you're going to do 1 or 2 videos. It really comes down to having a plan, and I like to do it on different days because we all have businesses to run. I'm a coach on how to get on YouTube, but that's not what I do all day long. Like I've got a business to run too. So I plan out when I'm going to be doing my videos. When you do it that way, it makes it more realistic. You're going to be more likely to follow through with it because you've planned time to actually make it happen. And then as long as you're doing that on a consistent basis, YouTube is very similar to LinkedIn and Facebook and Instagram. It likes consistency. The consistency, though, isn't every day. You post 1 video a week, you're good. And you don't have to
Um,
worry about spending time on there ahead of time to engage in other videos and then post and then engage in more videos. You don't have to do that because it's a search engine. It's not a social media platform. So once you've posted your video, of course, you want to look to see if people are leaving comments so that you can respond as soon as possible, but you don't have to be on that platform all the time. Just be on there like once a week, and you're good to go. Go back to your social media platforms and, work the algorithms over there.
that's so refreshing. We love LinkedIn, and I've met,
Yes.
connections, clients, opportunities all over the world from it. But it is a digital, business conference or networking site. So you actually have to show up. You can't just like you said on YouTube. And so
Mhm.
that's where it can be a time crunch if you let it. So I love the flexibility of YouTube once you have everything in place. That's very doable
Yeah.
once a week, and
Yeah.
especially if you plan for it. You know what you're going to say. And I think that is the main thing, especially on LinkedIn. People say, well, I really want to, but what am I gonna say? I think that's the number one thing for the judgment ideas plague you. But what am I gonna say
Yeah.
is number one thing. So do you go by questions people ask you? Do you do searching on what's trending in the news in your area? What's your take on the best way to start topic wise?
That's a great question. And it's all of those. You can look at your LinkedIn content. That's a great starting point for someone who wants to start a YouTube channel. Is look at the content you've already created. What content worked well? If it was a text post, if it was a poll, whatever it was, look to see how you can take that content and turn it into a video. So you're not starting on YouTube and doing the research from scratch there. You're working with something that was working on one platform. Now, it's a good place to start. You can test it because, YouTube's all about testing, just like all the other platforms are too, and looking to see what would work. I'll do the research and see what are people doing or talking about right now with YouTube. So an example would be when the features list came out of what enhancements and new things were coming to YouTube. I'm going to jump on that because it was something new and I wanted to obviously learn what it was, but then also communicate that to my community on YouTube. But then there could be one where I talk about here are 15 tips for building confidence on camera. That's going to be an evergreen piece of
Mm.
content that's going to live on YouTube and get views and engagement for years. So there's that play to it as well. But if somebody leaves a comment or a question, so it's all about paying attention to what's working and what's not, looking at the analytics to see is it getting the impressions that it needs to. On YouTube, as long as you've got like over 1,000 impressions, that means the algorithm's doing what it needs to. Then you want to look at the views to see if people are actually viewing it. Click through rate is showing that your thumbnail and your title are working, and people are like, yeah, this is interesting. I want to watch it. So they're clicking through to watch it. And then looking at the attention curve and seeing like, where are people dropping off? Was it within the first 30 seconds? And then what happened after that to see if your hook was working and then like where people dropped off during the video. So there's a lot of watching the content at the beginning to see what's working and what's not. And then when you look at that analytics, then it'll help you determine like what else you need to do next. So there's kind of a process involved, but it's all based on data.
It sounds like you can't go wrong at the first night, because I know for me, when I look for things, I'm
Mhm,
on YouTube. I don't use it that much, I'll
mhm,
be honest, but I use it for a how to. I know a lot of people do, not just like how to fix a leaky faucet or anything like that, but like in my area, if I need something like a piece of
mhm.
equipment or tech or something like what you said. So if you have the problem you solve and you just kind of start mind mapping, what are all the questions people ask based on what's out there? I can remember a couple years ago when I was doing my podcast, I think it was Audacity, this old school
Mhm.
software, and there weren't a lot of videos on it. And there was one thing I needed to learn, and it was just driving me nuts because it was not out there. And I ended up finding an obscure blog somewhere and did it myself. And I was thinking, hey, if I was a YouTuber, I could totally get a lot of views on this one
Yeah.
particular video if I was creative. So I love that. Find the gold that's missing, the gaps, opportunities. There
Mhm.
used to be, I think Neil Patel bought it, maybe changed it, Answer the Public. They had a lot of questions people ask, but you can even ask ChatGPT, you can ask
Mhm.
Google searches.
Mhm.
Just start looking, sourcing Amazon reviews, social media posts to see where the gaps and opportunity might be. Start
Yeah.
from there, because if you come from a place of service, solving a problem, at least for me, I know I quit overthinking me. I'm like, these people need to know. Like, let me
Yeah.
teach them, let me show them. And so it's a
Yeah.
place of service.
Yeah.
Absolutely love that. Okay. So we pay attention to our things. We know we only have to kind of show up once a week. What is the next best thing to get in there and stay in there? Because I'm sure that is a huge thing. We all have that shiny object, and then we just, life gets in the way. You're teaching us how not to, but how do we
Yeah.
stay in the game so we're not inconsistent?
That's something I've done before too. I tell people all the time, I'm also an example of everything not to do. So I'm a good person to work with because I'll be like, don't do that, don't do that. But here's all the things you need to do. It is hard to stay consistent. Like you said, it's a shiny object and you're like, this is new, it's fun, it's exciting. You're starting to see views. And then you're like, okay, the newness is worn off. And, now I'm kind of like, I don't have time for this. So it's really focusing on the message and what you're doing to serve an audience and not paying attention to the views and then likes and the engagement or vanity metrics. Those are important to see just to make sure that the algorithms are working for you, but it's not something to pay attention to and make that like your main objective. So when you look at here are the messages that I need to get out to my community to find a new community to serve, keeping your focus there is going to make it easier, but it really comes down to just planning it on your calendar and being consistent. We were talking about how to find different topics. One thing that you can do too, I just wanted to touch on this because it came to me. I'm like, oh, this is a piece of gold that I want your audience to know about for finding topics is on YouTube. So doing a search on YouTube, and then there's a way that you can just like on the search results screen, you can do filter. So you can filter for like the last 12 months. When you scroll through the list of videos, looking at the number of views for video, if it's higher than the number of subscribers for that channel, that's a video that's taking off. That's one to pay attention to. So then you can look at that title and say, okay, this one's working for this channel. Look at the thumbnail, look at the title, listen to the video, what's going on with the hook, and then find a way to not replicate it because obviously that one's already out there, But you can use Chat GPT in this example and say, okay, here's the transcript, which you can get from the YouTube video itself,
Mhm.
free, and then plug it into Chat GPT and say, make this better. And then obviously you want to just use that as a baseline and incorporate your voice and make it sound like you. But it's a way to help you understand, like, here's what made this successful. So how can I make it successful, but in my voice? It also makes it more interesting. It makes you want to continue doing it because you're like, okay, I've tried this. Now let me try this. And it's almost like a game. Like you want to get better each time to see what you can do and what you can accomplish.
And especially like for you, whatever the title may be, you can add for women over 40.
Yes.
Boom, specificity sells. Okay, this is a higher level video, but now you're going deeper and
Mhm.
talking about the pain points, the problems, the challenges that a woman over 40 faces. So, heck yeah, I'm going to go there. So put that specificity in too, because I know that that's driven me to the right video when I see, oh, they're talking to me, but they're not talking to a large audience. They're talking to me. So that's why, in the Own Your Lane framework, in my new Position Yourself Planner book, I always say, what's your narrow lane? It's not necessarily a niche or demographic. It can be like over 40 or a problem point. So here's a perfect example. If you just put for women over 40 under everything and they're like, oh my gosh, and me up.
Yes.
Let me ask you as we wrap up our time, let's talk about equipment. I don't want to get in the weeds too much, but are you shooting your videos on iPhone or something else? Or what's the fastest, easiest way to get started so we're not bogged down in the tech?
Yeah, I actually still to this day use my phone because the quality of the camera on our phones today are so high. And I've got the Samsung Galaxy, I think it's the S21. I think they're out with the S25 now. iPhones have really great cameras. So as long as you're using the front or the front facing camera. So the one on the back of your phone, it's got a
Mhm.
higher quality camera. I still use that to this day. And then I've got a Bluetooth microphone that has a great quality. It's like maybe 20 or I can't remember if it's 20 or $30 on Amazon. It works on both Androids and iPhones. So if you have those two things, and right now the lighting I'm using is from a window. So as long as you've got good lighting, you've got a microphone, which right now I'm just using the microphone on my laptop. I'm in a quiet space so I can do that. When you first get started, you're not going to get a million people watching your video. Chances are it's going to start off slow. So spending so much time on trying to perfect the video and buy all the equipment, just get started with your phone and don't memorize the script. Keep this super simple. So on a post-it note, have everything that you need for your video on a post-it note. Like the only thing I write out is my hook because that's going to determine whether or not somebody watches my video. After that, I do a quick story, and then I have my 2, 3, 5 talking points are. I have, like, the call to action. What do I want people to do at the end of the video? When you're first getting started, I would say have a link to a lead magnet or some type of, like, small offer because 'cause you're not gonna have other videos on there yet to refer people to. But as you build your library, then you're gonna want to keep people on your channel. So then at the end, it's gonna be instead of saying, hey, thanks for being here," it's gonna be like, "Now that we've talked about planning your videos, you're gonna wanna watch this video next because I walk you
Mhm.
through step by step how to do X. Go ahead and click it now, and I'll see you over there." Now you're keeping them on your channel where they're gonna start binge watching your content. That's the key once you build up your library.
That's brilliant. So that might keep you in the game because it'd be an endless like ecosystem and cycle. I think it's still great to have a lead magnet and then take that next step with you. I've really found wonderful people that way too. So to recap, we have brilliance to share, and video is one of the fastest, best ways to form that instant connection. For those we're here to serve, first know what you're wanting, your vision, all that. Make some kind of plan and do some research, but not
Mhm.
too much because we could be bogged down with analysis paralysis. Then we start looking at some of the topic and see what's the gaps, opportunities where you could start. Get that first video out there and then realize you only need one a week. And then, of course, pay attention to the algorithm and some of the results, but don't let that drive you or deter you. And then just start doing this because, we think about someone like, I know we're not going to compare ourselves. I even can't believe I'm saying this to Mr. Beast, but let's just think if back in 2012 or whenever the heck he started, he would have given up. And now I'm not saying we're aspiring to be that, but He only got to where he was because he stayed in the game. There are
Mhm.
millions of people who are wonderful on any platform because they stayed in the game. Now, for us, I think that's the most refreshing thing I heard today, that we only have to do a video once a week. That takes the pressure off. And then just start small and just start simple and just stay in the game with your phone and a window or a ring light and microphones. So, Vicki, tell us where we can connect with you and learn more about what you do.
The best way to connect with me is on LinkedIn, and then to send me a personalized request to let me know that you found me through Michelle's show. I always like to know that just because it's the marketing in me. And then also it helps me convey that to Michelle to say, hey, here's how many people I found through your show. Thank you so much. Showing the gratitude. And then I always have something, a free resource. It's in my bio. You can click that. I do a small 3-day challenge once a month. And it's a great way to immerse yourself in what's involved with YouTube and it get some perspective as to what it might be like before you go all in.
That's a great idea. You're going to give them the 3 days so they can know this is right for me and right
Mm.
now. Maybe down the road, I have plans to do this, but not right now because right now I'm bogged down. But,
Yeah.
put that on your radar. And that's wonderful. You do it once a month. This has been fantastic. What are your parting words for those who are trying to really own their lane of fulfillment, opportunity, impact through YouTube, Vicki? What would you say to them?
I would say don't worry about the details, just start messy. Messy action is the fastest way to progress. And you're not going to know what you don't know unless you actually start.
Absolutely brilliant. And that goes really well with the way I always close is keep putting yourself out there. But before I do, if you are ready to start getting visible, put yourself out there, build that brand, head on over to michellebgriffin.com, grab my resources and how you can get started today. So until next time, everybody, keep putting yourself out there. You have a brand to build, a message to share, and people to impact. I'll catch you next week. Take care. That's all for today. In the meantime, are you ready to grow your visibility, personal brand, and thought leadership? Then head on over to michellebgriffin.com for free resources to get started and get going today. And until next time, thanks for listening.